Hello and welcome to the Cinema ATL podcast. The Cinema ATL podcast is a weekly podcast that examines the world of entertainment through the lens of local Atlanta filmmakers. That would be us, your hosts. I am Michael D. Friedman, and that is
Martin Kelly.
And this week we are discussing the Oscars. Yes, the Oscars are coming this weekend, and we thought it'd be fun to take a look at the major categories and pick some of our favorites and maybe guess the winners. But first, Martin, before we jump into that, why don't you tell our listeners how they can help the podcast out?
Well, you can help by listening, subscribing, rating, and commenting on this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, because that will help us out a lot. And where you can listen to it, pretty much anywhere podcasts are heard, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and even Google Podcasts. So hit us up at any of those spots.
Yes, and we also want to hear from you. You can always tweet us at CinemaATL, or my personal account is at Badger33.
Or me at Marte_real1.
And don't forget about our Instagram, which is at CinemaATL Podcast. And you can check out a bunch of cool stuff that we're doing on there, as well as get notified of new episodes when they premiere and other cool stuff, which I mentioned previously. So you get 2 doses of cool stuff. So, yeah.
Definitely. Check us out. And you can also always catch us at the legacy site, cinemaatl.com.
Cool. So why don't we just jump into the Oscar preview?
Okay, so before we talk about the Oscars, I want to give a quick shout out to Ella Portnoy and the film that she produced, one of the producers on, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which has got about 9 Indie Spirit Awards. And so, of course, that happens the same weekend as the Oscars. So good luck to that film. And
it's actually happening on Thursday this year. So,
so it's happening
today when you listen to this. So, yeah. So hopefully good luck to them. And yeah, that was a film that got a lot of buzz, and I was kind of surprised it didn't get much Oscar love. But yeah, it's good to see that it's getting some awards recognition. But,
yeah, and you know, 6 degrees, Immigration Tango in the house.
There you go. All right, so yeah, we just wanted to talk about the Oscars, what's coming up, and this year's ceremony is going to be a little bit different. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It's going to be a limited audience. I think it's just like the nominees and maybe some immediate family members, but I don't know for sure. I know it's very limited this year due to the COVID crisis, and apparently they're not even allowing Zoom call-ins. They're going to try to do separate hubs in London and Paris so that people can that are based in Europe can participate. But they didn't want to do a Zoom version of the Oscars, so that's interesting.
Nice. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's probably a good thing, honestly, because the Zoom doesn't make it feel special. So maybe they're trying to make it feel a little more glamorous without the Zoom. You know what I mean? Especially when you got my main man. What's his name? Jason Sudeikis in in hoodies. You know what I'm
right? Yeah. I think there's a no hoodie rule this year too. Where they want them to dress up. Right?
That does not scream Oscar.
Right. A couple other changes that are happening this year. No longer do they have to explain what the difference is between sound mixing and sound editing. They've actually merged that into one category for best sound. So that's interesting. It gives less award opportunities to the sound people, but it's always been kind of a confusing thing for the general audience.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. So that's good. That's good, though.
And then also the best foreign language film category has been changed to the best international feature. There's been a lot of controversy around this, especially around the Golden Globes, about some of the limitations, how Minari was shoved into the foreign language category, even though it was, an American film. So it's interesting to see how they're changing. And I heard they're actually doing some changes to the way the international features will be judged moving forward, but not starting this year, starting in like 2 years, I believe.
Yeah, that's definitely some significant changes to the tradition.
Well, all right, we're gonna just jump into some categories, and we're gonna like read off the nominees, and we're gonna talk about what our favorites were, and what we think probably will win.
Yeah.
So if you're doing an Oscar pool, you might want to listen to us, but you might not. Probably not. I don't know.
You definitely probably don't want to listen to us if you're doing a pool, if you really, if you're serious about it. But you can listen to us for fun anyway.
Right. And before we get started, I just want to say, I watched 7 of the 8 Best Picture nominees. I did not get around to seeing The Father uh, before this podcast, but I do intend to watch it before the Oscar ceremony. And can I just say that they're just all very dark and sad and depressing and whatever happened to Uplifting Tales? They're great
Yeah.
movies. Don't get me wrong, but man, it's been hard to like sit through them, especially if you're like me and you're trying to get them all in. You're watching them back to back. It's like
Well, here's I'll just leave it at this, okay? These films do represent 2020.
right, that's
So
true.
there you have it.
Yeah, but like I said, I think to me the best film of 2020 was Palm Springs, and you can't convince me otherwise. But you know
Right.
that's the way the
Well, I
Oscars
mean,
go.
it's
So
I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you. But you know what I mean. I think it's representative of the mood, maybe
right,
of the year itself. So, one thing I'll say before okay, I'll let you know you beat me this year because you
yes,
saw way more of the Best Picture nominees than I did. I only got to see four. I had every intention of seeing two more because the two that I didn't see were the ones I really wanted to see the most, and I just did not get the opportunity to see them. I actually wanted to see them in theaters, and I was holding out. And I'm going to the theater now again, so
right,
uh, I really expected to see them in theaters, and yet they weren't playing at the theaters I actually frequent. So unfortunately, I missed out. So that is what it is. But I wanted to say that this year, even though they're dark, I think it's a cool year because some of the smaller films really got to shine.
right.
Uh, in a year where all the movies, if it was a normal year, some of these movies I believe would have been lost in the shuffle. And so I think that's one of the bright sides of the year that was.
Right. I'm just glad they made certain films that didn't have theatrical release eligible. Otherwise, we would have been saying Sonic the Hedgehog was the best picture winner. So not that
Absolutely.
Sonic the Hedgehog's a bad movie. It's just
Nothing wrong
that would
with
be
that,
sad.
yeah. If that was the
Anyway,
only choice, exactly.
right, right. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's talk about the best picture. So the nominees are The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago Seven.
Yep,
So,
yep.
in my opinion, and this is a tough one. Like I said, it's kind of hard to choose. I watched Promising Young Woman immediately before we recorded, so that's
Mhm.
kind of sticking with me a lot. It's a really good movie. It's dark and gives you a lot to think about, and um, it's a very timely movie. So I do think everybody should watch it. But I think my favorite is actually Nomadland, and that's
Okay.
actually kind of what the predictions are: is that Nomadland is going to walk away with it. I felt
Right.
Nomadland was a little bit less depressing than a lot of these other movies, although it is depressing in its own right. So I probably shouldn't be judging about that. But like I said, when you watch them all back to back, it's kind of rough. But
Right, right. Well, of the movies I saw, I would pick Judas and the Black Messiah. Um, Now, of the movies that I think are gonna win, I agree that I think Nomadland is gonna it's got so much momentum, I think it's gonna, um, be the one to win, but I would not mind sort of a Moonlight style surprise and maybe Minari, which, again, I didn't see, but at the same time, I've heard so many good things about it, that I wouldn't hate it if Minari actually took it.
right,
But I believe it's going to be Nomadland. But if I had to only choose the ones that I saw, I would say Judas and the Black Messiah.
yeah, Minari is a really good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's actually all these movies that I've seen, all seven that I've seen, have actually been good movies. It's just
Hmm.
trying to pick the best one. It's kind of a hard choice, but yeah, I would rank them maybe Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, and then Minari and Sound of Metal kind of tied
What
for third.
you
But
and Sound of Metal is very solid. Sound of Metal is very close of the ones I've seen. But I think Judas and the Black Messiah is got. And here's something we've talked about in the past. It's got more scope to it,
right,
and I always like to see the movies with scope. You know what I mean?
right.
So this one's got a lot more scope than Sound of Metal. So gives it the edge of the ones I've seen. Like I said,
I mean, they're all good in their own way, and they each have their own benefits. And I think you'll probably see that in the other categories. And I think that there's going to be some spread amongst these. I don't think any of these are going to like walk away with all the awards. So I think that's a good thing. And we'll talk
right?
about that a little bit more as we go into these a little bit further. Um, so let's move on to directing. For directing, you have Thomas Vinterberg for Another Round, David Fincher for Mank, Isaac Chung for Minari, Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, and Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman.
Yep, yep. And so we talked a little bit, touched on the diversity of this category,
Right,
um, which 40% female directors, in this, and 40% Asian directors in this sampling.
right.
So that was a nice touch to this year's nominees. Unfortunately, I've only seen one of the films in this category,
Right.
and
So,
so
yeah, I've seen four of them. I did not see Another Round. But yeah, I think, the favorite coming off her Golden Globe win is Chloe Zhao. And
mhm.
I think she'll probably win. And I think she deserves it. Although Emerald Fennell's directing job on Promising Young Woman is great. And I think either of those women winning would be well deserved.
Well, I'll tell you what, I am leaning toward Chloe Zhao, not because everyone else is, but because I really enjoyed The Rider, her first feature.
Hmm.
I thought it was fantastic, and so um, that's why I would say that's who I hope wins. And of course, hopefully, I'm not disappointed when I finally see Nomadland. But I think I would really enjoy her win just because she was very talented in her debut film, The Rider. So that's who I would be rooting for. The one film I did see in this category was Mank, which was a fine job from David Fincher, but at the same
Right.
time, I think it would be great for someone like Chloe Zhao to win the Oscar in this
Right.
category.
I mean, I love David Fincher, but I mean, also, I think it's Hollywood's always pat itself on the back for insider films. So does it
Right,
really need?
right.
They do really need to do that again. I mean, Mank was really good. I mean, I think I like the cinematography a lot in Mank, and it's just because
Hmm.
we're not going to talk about cinematography because we don't have all day to talk about these nominees. But one of the nominees, one of the films, Promising Young Women, had beautiful cinematography in it. They use a lot of different, like they use neon in it, and it's just different. It was different than a lot of other movies in regards to cinematography, and so you have to credit the director for a lot of those choices too, which is why I
Hmm.
think Emerald Fennell would be a great win as well. Unfortunately, Promising Young Woman wasn't even nominated in the cinematography category, so that really shocked me because what was one of the things that I thought about was great about the movie.
Wow. Yeah, that's shocking. That's shocking because I mean, you in a year like this when the field is kind of more narrow, some daring cinematography ought to stand out. You would think.
Right. Right. Okay, but moving on. Oh, yeah. So moving on, we will talk about the actor in the leading role. So the nominees are Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Stephen Yun for Minari. Now, this
Yeah.
one, everybody just assumes Chadwick Boseman's going to win it. I've not seen his performance, but I've heard good things.
Hmm.
So I know you've seen
Hmm.
it, Martin. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, and when I first came into this, I actually, we even talked about it as like the way that the film seemed to be advertised was that he was a supporting player in the film, but that's not the case. He's actually is the lead in the film, and he's fantastic. He's absolutely great in the film, which he's always
Right.
been very good, but he's really wonderful in the film. So the fact that he's predicted, I don't think is a sentimental choice. I think he's legit the best actor, even though it's close because Riz Ahmed was fantastic as well in Sound of Metal.
Right. And, a lot of people were saying, Chadwick Boseman being a posthumous award, is an honor that they think that, they're not going to take that away from him. But it's good to know that it's, not just, honoring his legacy, but it's actually for the performance as well. Um, I
Yeah,
really,
he's fantastic. Yeah.
I really, really, really enjoyed Stephen Yeun in Minari. And
Good.
if it wasn't for Chadwick Boseman's being there, I think he would have a real shot at winning.
Hmm.
Likewise, Riz Ahmed was awesome in Sound of Metal,
Yeah.
um, just terrific. And so you know, those performances alone, I think, they say it's an honor just to be nominated. They really should take those to heart because it's Chadwick Boseman's to lose at this point.
Totally, and I would certainly be delighted to see Steven win. That would be fantastic, or Riz, either one. But I have to say now that Chadwick Boseman deserves it because
Right.
not just because of sentimentality and posthumous desire to award him because he's great in the part. It's really the movie's not on par. It wasn't nominated. The movie's not a best picture, but he is really tremendous in the film.
I need to check it out. It's on Netflix. I know I need to watch it. But yeah, I'm trying to get through the 10 Best Picture nominees, so that'll probably be my ninth film after I get there.
Yeah, night. Sorry.
Right. So then moving on to the actress in a leading role, we have Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day for The United States versus Billie Holiday, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. Now, this one, if you would have asked me before today, I would have said Frances McDormand,
Hmm.
and she still might win it, but my vote now is for Carey Mulligan.
Okay.
She puts on a powerhouse performance in Promising Young Woman, and it's just, I mean, she drives the whole film, and she's really great in it. I think a lot of people are pegging her as one of the favorites. I think Frances McDormand is also like people are talking about her as well, but
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's Carey Mulligan. I haven't seen the other three, so I can't compare those, but I was just blown away by Carey Mulligan's performance.
Well, and this is like the where I'm sort of falling behind the most. The only one I did see is Viola Davis, and she's really good in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So solid performance from her. I expected Frances McDormand to win this, but after you say how tremendous Carey Mulligan is, it's certainly wouldn't surprise me if she pulls it out. Unfortunately, I did not. I know Andra Day is very talented, but I did not see this film, and I don't even know much about it other than the story behind it,
Right.
and her portrayal of Billie Holiday, which is a natural fit for Andra Day, who's a good singer as well. So certainly sounds like a good fit. And Vanessa Kirby, I've never even seen the trailer for Pieces of a Woman.
Right.
So
I've never heard of
you
that
know,
film personally.
yeah, I mean, I know who Vanessa Kirby is, but again, I know nothing about that film. So I would say my guess is Frances McDormand. That's my prediction.
Right.
Uh, but I don't have any sort of perspective for this particular category.
Well, all right. Let's go on to actor in a supporting role. We have Sasha Baron Cohen for Trial of the Chicago Seven, Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah, Leslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami, Paul Raci for Sound of Metal, and Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. So we talked about
Yeah.
this one before, how the fact that
Uh-huh.
there's two people
Two,
from
two,
Judas and the Black Messiah in here.
yeah. two leads even almost.
Really, yeah. I mean, Lakeith Stanfield is the lead of Judas and the
Absolutely,
Black Messiah. He should have.
I agree. I
I
agree.
mean, I don't know how the Oscar. We talked about this before, so I'm not going to go
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
detail on it. But yeah, I don't see how he got nominated in the supporting role.
Right, right. Me too.
However, I think that Daniel Kaluuya is predicted to be the favorite in this category, but I think this category is kind of a little bit more wide open than people might imagine, especially if they're going to split votes between Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes,
Personally, I felt I liked Lakeith Stanfield better than Daniel Kaluuya in that
and
movie.
me too.
Um,
Yes, I agree. I agree.
however, Paul Raci is just tremendous in Sound of Metal, and
Yeah.
there's one scene in that film that's just so powerful and so well done by him that if they don't use it as the Oscar clip, I don't
Then
understand.
somebody's not doing their job. Yeah, exactly.
And this is a great
No,
story
I
too.
agree.
He's
I
a
agree.
character actor. I think he's from Chicago, so he's not like an LA person. And just to see
Mhm.
him get nominated for this is great. And it's just he's so good in it.
No, totally. It's like I really, I extremely impressed, and I saw this more recently. I really thought this was sort of this was the Keith and Daniel show, for the most part when I heard the nominations
Right,
until I saw him, and he really does a fantastic job. Very, he's certainly worthy of winning with this performance because it is very powerful. Um, Again, though, I'm going to go with my initial take on this is Lakeith Stanfield should have been the lead, but he's nominated here, and I would pick him because this is who I think did one of the best performances all year from any film. So
right.
whatever you want to categorize the role as supporting or lead, he was fantastic. So I'm sticking with that as my pick, even though I think you may be right that the odds are more in favor of Daniel because of the fact that he's actually portraying a historic figure, I believe.
Right. I think Daniel Kaluuya is going to win it. Although I would love to see either Paul Raci or Lakeith Stanfield pull off the upset. Now, I haven't
I
seen One
agree.
Night in Miami, so I don't know about Leslie Odom Jr.'s performance, but I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen the film. Sacha Baron Cohen was great in the Trial of the Chicago
Hmm.
Seven, but it's really,
Certainly was.
really a more minor part, when you're like comparing. I mean,
Compared to, yeah,
yeah, it's more of
yeah.
an ensemble piece, whereas
Hmm. Hmm.
these other ones are really, you know,
Yeah, especially the three that we've been focusing
right,
on are extremely substantial
right.
roles. And so, yeah, those are the three guys who are the most deserving. And again, I agree. I would go Lakeith, Paul, and then Daniel if it was my choice. But
Right.
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And I would not be sad if Daniel Kaluuya won either. I mean, I think he did a great
Right.
performance, and I think he's got the skills, and I think he's going to get many more nominations in the future.
Absolutely.
Um, Actress in a supporting role, we've got Maria Bakalova for Borat's subsequent movie film, Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy, Olivia Colman for The Father, Amanda Seyfried for Mank, and Yu Jung Yoon for Minari. Um,
Yep. Yep.
Once again, I have not. This one I haven't. I've only seen two and a half of the performances. Actually, I started watching Borat, but I never got through it. And I thought
Okay.
that she was great in that role. Maria Bakalova was great in that role, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't see the whole thing, and I didn't see the evolution of her character. So I probably missed out on some of the best parts that she had.
Gotcha.
Um, as far as my choice, it's Yu Jung Yun from Minari,
Okay.
who plays the
Okay.
grandmother of Minari, and she is flat out terrific in that role.
Right.
Um, I think Olivia Colman's probably the favorite to win because she's got previous Oscar wins,
Hmm.
but I haven't seen The Father, so I don't know. But yeah, the grandma in Minari is what makes that film run. Well, I know Stephen Young's pretty. That whole movie is pretty good. The acting in it is pretty darn good. But the grandma is a pivotal figure in it. And she's really good.
Good. Well, what I thought about this category is it's kind of true to form in the sense that a lot of comedy performances make their way into this category a
Right.
lot. So I wasn't surprised to see Maria Bakalova nominated because that this is a traditional kind of thing for actress in a supporting role to come from comedy, which is
Right.
less likely in other categories. So that was, and I saw Glenn Close in Hillbilly Elegy. She's solid, but I don't think that that movie got enough traction for her
Right.
to really
A lot of
pull this
people
out.
like hated that movie. So
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a divisive film as well. But she did a good job in the film. But again, I think it's just not. I don't think it has a chance,
right.
in that regard. Now, I'm delighted to hear you Jung Yoon did a great job because this is kind of who I was pulling for, even though I didn't see that film. But it would be a great to see her win it just because. Amanda Seyfried, fantastic. She does a
I
good
was
job.
shocked by Amanda Seyfried. I never really thought much of her in that way as like the serious actress. Like,
Uh
I
huh.
don't know, maybe that's insulting, but she was great in Mank. But
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was terrific.
but yeah, I feel like Minari. You mentioned comedy and that role, the role that the grandma plays in Minari is comedic, although it
Okay.
has uh, there's multiple layers to it, which is what's so
Right.
great about
Right.
it,
Hmm.
and what's
Hmm.
so awesome about it. Yeah.
Well, I'm pulling for. I hope your prediction is right and it happens because I would love to see that. Now, Olivia Colman is fantastic, and of course, neither of us saw The Father, but she's a fantastic actress. So
Right.
I wouldn't put it. I wouldn't put it past uh, her to win because she's certainly talented. So that being said, though, I'm going with your pick because I would like to see that happen.
I wouldn't be disappointed if Maria Bakalova won either, because it's always nice to see like these kind of unknowns kind of pop in and really kickstart their careers through these types of roles. So
Well,
it'd
some
be
of my
fun.
favorites, yeah, some of my favorites have actually have actually gotten their sort of recognition through this
Right.
category, like Marissa
Marissa
Tomei
Tomei, yeah.
and man, now I'm blanking.
And
One of my other favorites.
other people.
Yeah, yeah, one of my other favorites as well. You know who you are.
Yeah, you'll just have to guess. Um, and then finally, because yeah, we don't have an hour-long podcast, we're trying to keep it a half an hour. We're going
Yeah.
to do our last category, which I had to make a decision on this. We're going to do writing for original screenplay
Hmm.
because we've seen more of these movies than the adapted. So that's pretty much
Yes.
my decision on picking
Exactly.
this.
Good job. Good job.
So the writing nominees, and I'm not going to list the writers, unfortunately, because like some of them have a lot of different writers on it. So um,
You know what?
if I
This
wanted to
is
adapt,
the irony of this. The irony of you and me are screenwriters, and we're not going to name the
right,
screenwriters.
right, it is kind of ironic, but I didn't want to be like story by blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah
yeah,
blah
I
blah blah
got
blah
you.
blah blah blah.
No, you're
And you're
right.
lucky I
You're
didn't
right.
do adapted screenplay because Borat's in there, and there's like 20 credited writers on that thing. So anyway, the nominees here are Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago Seven. And a
Yeah.
lot of people are saying that they think this is where The Trial of the Chicago Seven is going to get honored. My personal opinion, though, is that it should be either Sound of Metal or Promising Young Woman.
Okay. Okay. Well, Sound of Metal is really good. Trial. I mean, we praised when we reviewed Trial Chicago 7. We obviously praised the writing.
Right.
I mean, we can name this screenwriter because everyone knows him, Aaron Sorkin, and he's got the pedigree, and that's probably why he's the favorite.
Probably.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if I had to choose though. I might give Judas and the Black Messiah my nod just from the ones I've seen. But
Right.
again, I take your word for it that the other that Promising Young Woman is really good, and I know Sound of Metal is really good, but I kind of would still give the edge just barely to Judas and the Black Messiah if it was my pick.
Judas and the Black Messiah is a really good movie, and but like I think I'm kind of like spreading the wealth.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think Daniel Kaluuya is going to win for supporting actor. So I was
Hmm.
thinking that here, and because I don't think Paul Raci's going to win for Sound of Metal, but I
Right.
really enjoyed Sound of Metal. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed Promising Young Woman. Um, I think they both take unique takes on things,
Right.
whereas the others are, Trial of Chicago
More
7,
straight
Judas
ahead.
and a
Yeah.
Black
Yeah.
Messiah. They're really just, biopic type
Hmm.
historical movies. Minari's the family drama. Promising Young Woman and Sound of Metal take totally different angles at stuff that I haven't seen before.
Right.
Completely different stories that have never crossed my path. I couldn't compare them to other films. So that's why I really appreciate them. So if either one of those wins, I think that'll be great. I did like Trial of the Chicago 7. It wouldn't surprise me if Aaron Sorkin won, and I wouldn't totally be disappointed. But I'm just kind of hoping for like a spreading of the wealth, because after what I've seen from the movies I've seen that have been nominated, there was really a lot of great stuff that happened in 2020. Even though I was naysaying the darkness and the
Yeah.
sadness and
Yeah.
all that stuff,
Right.
it's really more because of the mood that I'm,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I, we're trying to get over the COVID thing. I want to be more happy. So that's why
Right.
I think that's why, like, a movie like Godzilla versus Kong resonated with us, even though it was not
Right.
a good movie at all. Right.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's probably why I think Palm Springs is my favorite movie of last year, because
Right.
it took a topic that, there was some serious stuff in it, but it made it funny and
Hmm.
enjoyable.
Hmm.
So this is not about Palm Springs, but yeah. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a nice scattering of award. I hope that no one film dominates.
I t- I totally agree with you on that sentiment for sure. I do. The truth is though, I just gotta go with what I feel like, just give my opinion on it. But I do hope you're right, and I hope the wealth is spread, and even the ones that I haven't seen, there's people and performances and jobs in the categories that I want to win, even though I haven't even seen the film.
Right.
So I hope, like especially actress in supporting role. I hope you're correct about that. That would be tremendous. I hope we're right about the actor in supporting role, and then I actually hope I'm right about the director, but as you say, you may be right. The other director may have done superb job that I just didn't see. So, I do hope you're right though. I would really like to see the wealth spread around and everybody be happy.
I also just like inspiring new voices too. So I think
Hmm.
that's why it kind of surprised me that Promising Young Woman was not nominated for cinematography, because it was so different than the other films that were nominated. It's not your mainstream idea of what Oscar-winning cinematography should feel like, right? It wasn't the
Right.
grand scope of vast vistas and stuff like that. Nomadland was great for that, and I hope that it wins for cinematography, because
Hmm.
the one that I want to win is not even nominated. So, but
Right.
Nomadland looked great as well, but it was because of those
Hmm.
sterling vistas and epic,
Right.
landscapes and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Um, so yeah, so you know, let's spread the wealth. Let's honor breakthrough performances, breakthrough ideas, right? So that's what I'm
Definitely,
hoping for.
definitely, and what I hope, and no offense to the veterans, I hope it's all new faces.
Right.
That would be the best, is if it's all people who haven't won before. So that would be great, and again, spread the wealth. It would be good.
And I don't remember if it was nominated for the Sound Award, but Sound of Metal needs to win an Oscar for Sound
Yes, no, definitely, because
Award.
that was integral to the story, and they did
Right.
a fantastic job with it for sure.
Right. So there's a lot of other categories, and we didn't want to give anybody a short shift, but we kind of had to because of the length.
Yeah,
but
and shout out to Diane Warren. Let's hope she finally gets her Oscar. She's been nominated many times, so
right.
hopefully she'll get it.
Well, all right. I think that about wraps it up for this week's episode. What do you guys think? If you have any opinions on who you think is going to win, who you want to win, let us know. Hopefully you're listening to this before the Oscars, so you can't like make fun of us for how off we were.
Right.
If we were, come back on Monday and tell us how wrong we were. We'll be happy to hear it.
And again, our prognostication is for entertainment purposes.
Yes. Yes. This is a legal disclaimer. Do not. This is not betting advice. Do not take us to heart. So that wraps it up this week. We hope to have you back next week. Once again, we want to thank Eureka for Failure for providing the music as they do every week. And please share, comment, rate, tweet us, post comments on Instagram. We want to hear from you. We want to grow the audience. Every little thing you do helps, even if it's just one little comment saying, hey, I like the episode. We'd love to hear about it. So Martin, any final words?
I'm gonna reach way back. It's a way back quote, but I think it's a fun one, festive for the Oscars. It's not related to the Oscars, but it's festive for sort of awards.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Well, all right. We will talk to you again next week, and I hope you have a great week and enjoy the Oscars, everybody.